Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Elements collection from Zoya for Fall 2018. These are available right now and they were sent to me for review. So first up is Devon. This polish is described as a steel blue with hints of a multicolored shimmer in a dense foil finish. Zoya has this one listed as an intensity of 4 in terms of opacity. I think this one went on maybe just a little bit sheerer than that, and it is going to need a little bit building up. For my first coat here, I did go in thinner than I typically do, so that's why it looks like application is a little bit sticky here. It's really not. That was just me going in for a thinner coat. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how it built up for me with that second. On this second coat, I did go for more of my typical thicker coat and made application so much easier and really a breeze. At 2 coats, I do still have a little bit of visible nail line, so I'm going to go ahead, let that dry down, and then show you how it built up for me with a third and final coat. So here's a quick look at that. 3 coats for sure did bring this polish completely opaque with no issues at all. I do recommend going in with 1 coat of your favorite glossy top coat just to help keep all of that foil at its brightest and also extend the wear time. So here's a look at that completed mini at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. Today I also have a shade photo for this polish. The sun decided to disappear on me, but it is definitely shinier than it looks here. So here's a quick look at that swatch photo. So next up is Gardner, and this polish is described as a deep periwinkle with a vibrant magenta shimmer in a dense foil finish. So this is the second foil finish polish of this collection, and of the 2, this one is my favorite. I just really love this color combination, and I appreciate how gorgeously that magenta shines off of the periwinkle base. So here's a quick look at my first easy coat. Again, this one does go on a little bit sheer. It is going to need some building up. I did have a little bit of flooding there in my cuticle, but I just cleaned it right up with acetone and a cleanup brush with no staining or issues whatsoever. So here's a look at my second coat. I did go in a little bit thicker here for the second coat, and I did stop here with this one today at 2. However, I really think it would have benefited from that third coat, and in future uses I will definitely go in for the third. I did just have a little flash of visible nail line, and I think that the finish would have been a little bit deeper with 3. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and then here is a direct sun shot. So next is where it gets a little bit, maybe almost repetitive. There are lots of pinks in this collection, but of the pinks, I think this one is my favorite. So this is Rumor. It's described as a full coverage mauve taupe with a subtle shimmer. So it's a perfect classic shade for fall or really all year round. So Zoya has this one listed as a 3 in terms of opacity. I really think it's more opaque than that. I had really awesome coverage at just 1 easy coat. This one does get a little bit brushstrokery, however, so you are going to want to be mindful of that. Just make long brush strokes all the way down the nail. I do still have a tiny hint of V&L left, so I'm going to go ahead and go in for that second coat. 2 coats for sure brings this one completely opaque. The brush strokes do mellow out a little bit on their own, but I think they are still going to be visible. It's just that type of shimmer that's still really beautiful and really classic looking on the nail. You can see here I kind of took my time making sure I was getting as flush a finish as I could. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. They're not bright and in your face or anything, but they are just maybe a little bit visible. So this is my final swatch photo at an angle underneath artificial lighting. So next up is Jenna, and this polish is described as a full coverage dusty rose pink cream with a blue undertone. So this is a bit of a brighter pink, especially for fall, but I will wear pink all year round, so it's not an issue at all. So in terms of intensity, Zoya lists this one as a 5, which to me means it should be a 1 coat polish. I think you could absolutely get there with this one as long as you're going in nice and carefully. I did do 1 coat and it was pretty much opaque, but I had missed the corner there of my nail and had maybe a tiny flash of V&L, so I am going to go ahead and show you what it looks like with a second coat. 2 coats with this one for sure brought it completely opaque. Beautiful coverage, nice glossy finish. I do love Zoya's creams, and I think they did an awesome job with this one. If you don't have any pinks in your collection that look like this may be one that you want to pick up. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath that artificial lighting. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Ruthie, and Ruthie is described as a full coverage raspberry rose cream. Again, another 5 in terms of intensity, so by all accounts, this should be a 1-coat polish. This one is just a little bit deeper and more raspberry toned than the first pink, so if you like a bit of a more mature pink, this one might be more for you. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Did go on nice and smooth, really easy. I didn't have any flooding issues at all. If I had gone in maybe a little bit more carefully towards that tip, this one would have for sure been a 1-coat polish. I did opt to go in for a second just to make sure that I got all of my corners and all of my bits completely opaque, and it was a breeze, really easy to apply. Again, no issues. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. It does dry down nice and glossy, however, I do recommend using that glossy top coat to help extend the wear time. And this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Marianne. So if you love Ruthie but you want a little bit more shimmer in your pink, this one might be more for you. So this one is described as a full coverage pink tone rose with soft glowing shimmer. This one is rated as a 4 in terms of intensity. So it is maybe just a little bit sheerer than the creams, but you do get that gorgeous shimmer payoff. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this first coat. I do still have visible nail lines, so I'm going to let it dry down and then show you how it applied for me with a second coat. So here's a look at that second and final coat. I did go in a little bit thicker here. I don't necessarily think that you need to, but 2 coats for sure to bring this polish completely opaque. I didn't have as strong an issue with the brush strokes in this polish as I did in the other pink, but they are still there and you just want to be a little bit mindful during application. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Kendra, and this polish is described as a beautiful full coverage Marsala cream. So this is rated again as a 5, as most of the Zoya cream formulas are very deep. This is where we're getting more into the vampy, more what I think of as a fall color. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one went on like butter, so smooth. I was maybe a little bit more careful with my application here, so I was able to get this one completely opaque in just one easy coat, and the finish was super pretty. It does dry down maybe a little bit darker on the nail, so here's a look at that completed mani at just 1 coat before the glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and then this is my final swatch photo under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Rachel, and this polish is described as a full coverage mulberry berry cream. Again, this one is rated as a 5 as it is that cream formula. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to apply it on my nails. With this one, I think I tried to go in again for those thinner coats to really get a really smooth application. It did look a little bit sheer here, almost like a deep jelly polish. So I am going to go ahead, complete this coat, and then show you how it built up for me with a second. With this formula, it almost felt a little bit sticky during application, so you do want to make sure that you let it dry down completely before you go in for that second coat. 2 coats did bring this one completely opaque for me. It is very deep, very almost ox blood, super dark on the nail, but I didn't have any issues with it staining or anything like that. So here's a look at that completed mani. I had 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Alyssa, and this polish is described as a full coverage red toned purple cranberry cream. Again, this is rated as an intensity of 5, and it is one of my top picks. You guys know I cannot resist a red polish, and this is a fabulous red cream. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one does go on nice and smooth, really easy. If I had gone in a little bit thicker here, I think it would be a 1-coat polish. However, I am going to go ahead and complete this coat. I did still have some VNL, so I'm going to let it dry down and then show you how it applied for me with an easy second coat. So here's a look at my second and final coat. This is another one that's going to dry down a little bit deeper on the nail than it applies. It does get nice and vampy, super appropriate for fall or really all year round if you're a red lover like I am. So here's a look at that completed mani at just 2 coats before a glossy top coat under artificial lighting, and then once more at a different angle under artificial lighting. So next up is a Donnie, and this polish is described as a full coverage purple tone sangria cream. I think here my lighting is playing tricks with it. It did bring it a little bit more fuchsia under the camera. It does dry down to a beautiful purple toned red though. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one is listed as an intensity of a 5 on the Zoya website. So that means that with careful application, it should absolutely be a 1-coat polish. I did have to go in for a little bit of a dip there to make it a thicker first coat, but with really careful application, especially towards my tips, I was able to get this one there in just one easy coat. It does dry down to that gorgeous glossy finish as most Zoya creams do, and I had no issues at all. Again, it does dry down a little bit darker, so here's a look at that completed mani at just 1 coat before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same lighting. Alright guys, so next up is Maeve. I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced, and it's described as a full coverage Concord grape cream. So if you're looking for just a straight gorgeous purple to wear through the fall, this is going to be an excellent choice. It is described as a 5 in terms of intensity, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how it applied on my natural nails. So here's a look at this first easy coat. I did have a little bit of flooding there, but I was able to clean it up with acetone, and I'll show you that towards the end of the swatch. So don't let that bother you too much, but with one careful easy coat, this one is completely opaque with no issues staining or otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and get some acetone and my cleanup brush and just get right in there towards the cuticle and clean that right up. And that's all there is to it. So here's a look at that completed mani at just 1 coat before a glossy top coat under my artificial lighting. It does dry down a tad darker than it applied. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same lighting. So last up today, I have Leighton, and this polish is described as a deeply saturated blackened aubergine cream. This is another of my absolute top picks. I just love a deep, deep vampy polish that is right on the edge of black with a hint of color, and this one is perfectly up my alley. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to apply it on my natural nail. This first coat does look a little bit sheer. I think I tended to go in a little bit thinner here. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry down completely and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. So here's a quick look at that. My second quick coat did bring this polish completely opaque. Again, this is going to look almost black on the nails until you get into some direct lighting or even bright indoor lighting to bring out that flash of purple. Super cool on the nail, very vampy, very fall appropriate. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat under artificial lighting. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same lighting. So that does wrap up my swatch and review of the Elements collection. I should have the holiday collection coming up really, really soon. So thanks so much for watching, guys. If you'd like to see more, you can also follow me on Instagram at Sloppy Swatches. So thanks so much. I'll see y'all next time.